Lexus presents tennis on Sky Sports.
Coco, thanks for joining us on Sky Sports Tennis. Congratulations on the win, an amazing win.
Thank you.
Now that you've had some time to reflect, just what are your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, I think overall, I think I just played good tennis and was serving well. And, maybe I don't think it was her best tennis today, but I think it was a lot to do with how I was playing and how, especially on my serve, I don't think I gave her too many looks to really do much.
And it looked like you had real intent in the way you were sort of, even your body language on the court, the way you were looking to be aggressive with your tennis. Is that something that was the plan pre-match? Is that an overall plan in your tennis?
Yeah, I would say it's more so an overall plan. I mean, obviously playing her, like she can very much dictate the rallies and be the aggressor. So I was just trying to do the opposite, but it's easier said than done. Obviously, I can play her again and still try to be aggressive, and she dictates the rallies. It's just today, I think, ended up being my day.
And obviously looking ahead to a big final in a couple of days' time, I just wonder how much will a match like that be about who you're going to face, and how much will you focus on just your own game and bringing the same sort of tennis that you brought today? Yeah,
I think when you're in the final, it's not about who you face, because at the end of the day, like they're the second best player this week, or next best player. You guys are the two best players that week. So to me, it doesn't matter who I play. I expect them to play top level tennis in the final, and obviously Irina's been in the final here before, and Alina's, I don't think she's been in the final here, but she's obviously been on tour for a while and doing great, consistent player. So it's going to be a tough match either way.
Listen, we can't wait for it. Wish you all the best for the final.
Thank you.
This is one of those days when we were split across different courts. Colin, you had an eye on that one. How much of it was how well Coco played, or how Iga Swiatek didn't turn up and play?
I think it was a combination. I agree with what Coco said there, in that Swiatek was out of sorts. She really looked like she was struggling on her forehand. I couldn't believe the number of errors that she was making on her forehand and rushing between points. Part of it, though, was how well Coco was serving. I think 5 aces, no double faults in the first set, which obviously is a real, that's a real barometer for me of how confident she is, how well she's playing, how well she's serving, and the forehand as well. But yeah, it was a combination. Coco Gauff playing well, rushing Swiatek early on, but then Swiatek completely unravelling. A really worrying performance from her point of view.
It is a head-scratcher when it comes to Iga Swiatek.
It is, because not so long ago we were talking about her and just singing her praises. She was very dominant at this stage last year. And we were looking at her and thinking, how can players stay on court with her on a clay court? Because she's just, a level above everybody else. But she has unravelled, and there's been multiple occasions recently where she's lost to players you wouldn't expect to do. Okay, this Coco Gauff one is a different calibre of player, because she's a US Open champion, and she's also been to the finals of the French Open on the clay courts. But even so, I think when the forehand goes, it goes big time, and it's almost like she can't stop the rot. It's like the computer is malfunctioning and it needs a reboot, and she starts to get more and more panicky, and she rushes through, and she's such an intense competitor. Every time she walks onto court, there's sort of stress levels. You can feel it coursing through her veins, and I think she gets very, very stressed out there. So it is a bit back to the drawing board, but of course it's quite crucial time for her, because she's going to go towards Rome, where she won there as well, and then the French Open, where she won there. So she's going to be defending in huge amounts of points, but also a Grand Slam title. And this is she's a perfectionist. This is not where she wants her tennis to be. So very interesting times to watch what happens with her.
You could trace it back to a number of things. I think there was the Olympics. She was the overwhelming favourite going into Roland Garros to get the gold, and she didn't. She got the bronze. It's still a medal, but it's not the one she wanted. There was the month retrospective ban for the contaminated melatonin that she took from over the counter. She changed coaches. She linked up with Wim Fissette and just things. And she said she did question herself a lot over that time. Yeah, and obviously it's interesting. I think that you're picking up on Wim Fissette being her coach. I think most players have a shot that they almost need to go well to dictate their whole performance and their whole mindset. Whether it be for Coco Gauff, her serve, as I say, I think if she serves well, the confidence flows into everything else. For Swiatek, it's her forehand. And working with Fissette, if the forehand isn't there, and then maybe she's not getting the right message from what's still a relatively new partnership, then, the frustration is obviously spilled onto the match court today.
And it was unbelievable for a player of that level. She almost looked like she wanted off the court in the second set. It just happened so quickly. It was such a shocking performance. So there's a lot to figure out in that team.
Yeah, and I think we've been hearing that even at the practice session, there was a lot of stress, wasn't there, with her team. And she was particularly talking about the forehand. And even early on in the match today, we heard that, she was stressing even in the warm-up, I think. So clearly her mind was not calm going into this match. A lot of stress. And also, when you think about that forehand, when it's working, it's spectacular. I mean, it's a slightly odd-looking shot. It has a bent elbow. She accelerates up the back of the ball. She hits with a lot of rotation and spin. And when it goes cross-court, it reminds me of Sinner's forehand. But when it goes off, it is horrible. And, she leaks errors and then she starts to lose confidence. And particularly here in Madrid, I think when the conditions are so tricky, as we've said from day one, if you have no confidence on a shot and you don't commit to it, oh my goodness, then the confidence will unravel even more. Maybe she'll start to feel confident when she gets away from here and gets back on the practice court and can try and straighten out and get, we've got some fluff going past us. A few feathers, there's always a few feathers flying around. But I think, maybe she can try to straighten things out on the practice court, but you've got to convert what you're doing in practice onto a match court as well. So it's going to be interesting.